Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring something pretty fascinating. How podcasts, this thing we all listen to, can actually be a super powerful tool for mastering English.
Right. It's not just entertainment. It can be a serious learning resource.
Exactly. And our mission here is to pull out some really practical, actionable strategies from the material we've looked at. Stuff that works whether you're just starting out or already pretty advanced and just want to polish things up.
For every stage of the journey.
So the big question is, why podcasts? What makes them so uniquely effective for learning English? And crucially, how can you, the listener, really leverage them?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so this idea of podcasts as a secret weapon, what's the core of that? Our sources mention accessibility, obviously. 24/7 availability.
Yeah, that's huge. You can turn almost any moment, commuting, exercising, washing dishes, into a learning opportunity. It fits into the gap.
Right, those little micro-learning moments. It makes it feel less like, okay, time to study, and more just part of your day. Takes the pressure off.
And you control it completely. What you listen to, how fast, how often. It's personalized.
Beyond just being convenient, though, there's this authenticity factor. That seems really key.
Oh, absolutely critical. Unlike, say, textbook dialogues, which can be quite staid.
Very staged, yeah.
Podcasts throw you right into real, natural English. You hear how people actually talk, the hesitations, the slang, different accents, the rhythm.
Messy bits of conversation.
Exactly. The stuff that textbooks often smooth over. It trains your ear for the real world.
Our source material put it nicely, didn't it? Something about the range of benefits.
Yeah. It said, listening to podcasts has numerous benefits, from enhancing listening comprehension to building vocabulary and exposing learners to natural conversational English. That last part, natural conversational, is the gold dust.
It prepares you for actual conversations, not just tests.
Precisely. Makes you street ready, you could say.
Okay, but some people might think it's listening, so it only helps listening.
Yeah.
How does it actually boost other skills, like speaking or even writing?
That's a great question, and it's where the connections get interesting. It's not just passive intake.
Right.
When you hear correct pronunciation, intonation, the flow of speech again and again, it builds this auditory model in your brain.
Like a blueprint.
Exactly. And that directly informs how you speak. Your mouth kind of learns the shapes and sounds. Plus, using transcripts connects the sound to the written word.
So that helps with reading and writing too.
Definitely. You see the spelling, the structure while hearing it. It links everything together. It's quite holistic.
Makes sense. But let's get practical. For someone starting at zero, maybe feeling a bit intimidated, where do they begin? Just pick any podcast.
No, definitely not. That could be overwhelming. The advice is clear. Start with podcasts specifically for English learners.
Okay, what makes those different?
They usually feature slower speech, very clear explanations, and often focus on basic vocabulary and grammar. Think of things like ESL Pod, maybe the British Council's Learn English.
Espresso English is another one mentioned.
Right. And crucially, look for ones that provide transcripts and vocabulary lists. That's key for beginners.
Why the transcript?
So you can read along while you listen or check things you didn't catch. It bridges the gap between hearing and understanding when your ear is still, tuning in.
Got it. So you find the right podcast. Then what? Just listen whenever.
Consistency is the next big piece of advice. Try to listen daily, even if it's just for, say, 5 or 10 minutes.
Make it a habit.
Exactly. Tie it to something you already do. Brushing your teeth, waiting for the bus, making coffee, little and often.
And it's not just having it on the background, right? It needs to be active listening.
Yes, especially at the start. Really try to understand. Don't worry if you only catch a few words at first. That's normal.
That feeling of it being a blur of sound. That's okay.
It's totally okay. It's actually your brain starting to adapt. Our sources really emphasize that. Don't be afraid to pause, rewind, repeat sections. Use those transcripts to check.
Like having a patient tutor you can rewind.
Precisely. And don't just listen, engage. The sources suggest keeping a vocabulary notebook.
Writing things down.
Yeah. New words, cool phrases, but don't just write them. Review them. Try to use them, even in really simple sentences you make up. That active recall makes a huge difference.
Okay, that covers beginners. What about people who've, moved beyond the absolute basics, intermediate learners looking to level up?
Right. So now it's time to broaden your horizons. Diversify your listening.
Meaning?
Move beyond just learner podcasts. Start exploring topics you're actually interested in. Could be news, stories, interviews, hobbies, anything.
So you get exposed to more vocabulary and different ways of speaking.
Exactly. Different accents, faster speech perhaps, more complex topics. Our sources suggested trying some podcasts aimed at native speakers, but known for being relatively clear, like Luke's English podcast or All Ears English.
Still accessible, but a step up.
Correct. And now transcripts become less of a constant aid and more of a strategic tool.
How so? What's the strategy?
The recommended approach is often twofold. First, listen without the transcript. Really push your listening skills. See what you can get just by ear.
Test yourself.
Right. Then listen again with the transcript. Now you can catch what you missed, check pronunciation details, look up words you flagged.
So it's for verification and deepening understanding.
Precisely. You highlight new words, maybe add them to your notebook. It becomes a more targeted learning process.
Now, something that came up strongly was integrating speaking practice. How does listening to a podcast help you speak better at this stage?
This is where it gets really active. One powerful technique mentioned is shadowing.
Shadowing. What's that involve?
It's basically repeating what the speaker says almost immediately after them, trying to mimic their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation as closely as possible.
Like being their echo.
Kind of. It sounds a bit strange, maybe, but it builds muscle memory for your mouth and tongue. It helps you produce the sounds more naturally without thinking so hard.
Interesting. Beyond shadowing.
Summarizing. After listening to an episode, try summarizing the main points out loud. To yourself, or even better, to a friend or language partner.
Forces you to use the vocabulary and structures you just heard.
Exactly. It activates the language. And also interact with the content more deeply. Take notes on interesting ideas, new idioms, grammar points.
Make it more than just listening.
Right. Maybe even discuss the episode in an online forum or with your language partner. That pushes you to use the language actively.
Okay, moving up again. What about advanced learners aiming for real fluency? How do podcasts help push them further?
Now it's about really challenging yourself, seeking out difficulty, but the right kind of difficulty.
How does that look like?
It means tackling podcasts made for native speakers on potentially complex topics, science, business, culture, deep discussions. The advice is to aim for understanding maybe 80% or so.
So you can follow along, but it's still stretching you.
Exactly. Enough comprehensible input to stay engaged, but enough challenge to force your brain to grow and adapt. That desirable difficulty.
And at this stage, you can go really deep on just one episode.
Yes, that's a powerful technique. Spend several days with a single episode. Listen multiple times. Maybe even try transcribing a short section yourself.
Wow, transcribing it. That sounds intense.
It is, but it forces you to pay incredibly close attention to every sound, every word boundary. Then you analyze the language, the advanced vocabulary, the nuances, the humor, the cultural references. Really wring it dry for learning.
And shadowing again. Does that change at the advanced level?
It becomes much more nuanced. Now you're not just mimicking sounds, you're mimicking the melody of the language, the intonation, the rhythm, the emotion.
The musicality of it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And a key tip here is to record yourself shadowing. Then compare your recording to the original podcast audio.
Ooh, direct comparison. That could be revealing.
Very. It gives you objective feedback on where you need to adjust your rhythm or intonation. It's targeted practice.
And finally, for fluency, it's about producing output based on the input.
Yeah. Absolutely. Write summaries or even short essays about the podcast content. This cements the learning and improves your writing structure.
Use it as a springboard.
Yes, or use the podcast topic as a prompt for a debate or discussion with other advanced learners. Practice articulating complex ideas in English. It moves from understanding to confident use.
Okay, regardless of level beginner, intermediate, advanced application, there seem to be some universal tips that apply to everyone using podcasts for learning.
Definitely. First off, set clear goals. What do you want to improve most right now? Listening, vocabulary, pronunciation. Having a focus helps.
Makes sense. Focus your effort.
And balance passive and active listening. It's okay to have podcasts on casually sometimes during chores or whatever. That helps with general exposure.
But don't only do that.
Right. You also need dedicated time for focus, active listening, where you're really working with the material, pausing, taking notes, maybe using transcripts. Both modes are valuable.
Leverage technology too, yeah.
For sure. Playback speed controls are great. Slow it down if it's too fast, speed it up slightly for an extra challenge later on. Use note-taking apps, find online communities for support.
And the big one seems to be consistency.
It came up again and again in the sources. Even just 10-15 minutes every day adds up significantly over time.
Yeah.
It's about making it a sustainable habit. Little by little, those neural pathways get stronger.
We saw that great example, Daniel from Switzerland. He didn't just listen, he actually started his own podcast in English.
Right. That really flips the script, doesn't it? It's learning by doing, taken to the extreme.
Forces you to produce, to articulate.
Totally. He said, and this is a quote, "Podcasting in English helped me become a better speaker and listener. It was challenging at first, but I improved quickly by practicing regularly. It's powerful proof."
Of course, it's not always smooth sailing. People face challenges. Feeling overwhelmed, for instance.
Yeah, that's common. The fix: start small, short episodes, gradually increase the length as you get more comfortable. Don't try to run before you can walk.
What about understanding different accents? That can be tough.
The main advice there is simply exposure. Listen to a variety of accents intentionally. Over time, your brain gets better at tuning in. It becomes less difficult.
Motivation is another big one. How do you stick with it?
Choose topics you genuinely love. If you're fascinated by the subject, learning feels less like work. That intrinsic motivation is powerful. And set small, achievable goals to keep momentum.
And that feeling like you're not actually improving, that can be really discouraging.
Ah, yes. The suggested solution is clever. Record yourself speaking, maybe every few weeks or once a month.
So you can actually hear the difference.
Exactly. Compare your recording now to one from a month or two ago. Hearing your own progress is incredibly motivating and proves you are getting better, even if it feels slow day to day.
So pulling it all together, the core message seems to be that podcasts are this incredibly versatile, effective, and honestly enjoyable way to boost your English skills.
Absolutely. At any level. You get that real-world exposure, amazing flexibility, and just endless content to explore.
The potential for growth is huge. So the call to action for you listening right now is basically start today, pick a podcast, maybe one we mentioned, maybe something else. Listen actively.
And see where it takes you.
Prepare to see those English skills really take off.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. As you use podcasts to unlock English, think about what else this opens up. What new ideas, cultures, or opportunities can you explore, understand, or even contribute to now that language isn't such a barrier? Learning like this doesn't just change your English, it can genuinely broaden your whole world.